What's going on, guys? It's me, Mong, and I am back with some more Albion Online. This is actually pre-recorded, so you're going to have Facecam for the first time in like forever. And we're going to go over the Clarent Blade and compare it to the Carving Sword, which is the video beforehand, but because that sword is huge, it's badass, and it's the one I use all the time. But the reason I've gone for the Clarent Blade now is because in the Destiny wheel, on the Destiny board, if you actually level up the Carving Sword, you also level up your Clarent Blade specialization. That's it, yeah, I think it's specialization. So you also get extra item power while leveling them both up at the same time. You don't have to like level two individual skill trees, so they're each getting a nice boost while you're leveling them up. So what I'm going to do is use the big Carving Sword for PvP because it's got slows, it's got heavy attacks, and then use the Clarent Blade for AoE and just PvE because it's got basically a damaging spell. You can increase your damage. So let's go over what it can do. Now, compared to the Carving Blade, it has got a little bit less damage, but generally you attack faster because it's a one-handed sword. So this does mean you can equip a shield, a torch. What's the other thing? It's like a horn. All of these increase just your stats in general. I know the shield like increases your threat against mobs. The torch that you can see I'm using here increases my attack speed. I'm currently only using tier 3, so I'm only getting a attack speed increase of 9%. But with the tier 4, I can get an attack speed increase of 11%, which would just mean I'm attacking crazy. And obviously I've got my haste spell that you can see down below, and once I activate that with the increased attack speed from the torch, it gets insane. I don't know where to look, my face or the face cam. But we're going to go through each of the skills. Now, I've got the same armor, so I've got the haste spell, I've got the damaging spell that increases each second and goes up to 50%, and then I've got my knight's shoes, or I've got the run. I think generally I'm going to change out the shield charge, like charging towards people, for a run. So in fights, rather than just charging towards them, and then if they can run off, say they've got increased movement speed, I can't do anything because I've used my charge. I can just run after them with the run. So I might keep that. But obviously, because it's in the same class as just all of the other swords with the soldiers' weapons, the first two spells are gonna be the same until I level it up and can change out the second spell. So the first spell you're probably used to from the Carving Sword video, it's the heroic, I think it's called Heroic Charge. I'm not quite sure, pre-recorded, I don't know what everything's called. So it's called Heroic Charge. It does a good amount of damage and just increases your movement speed, by 10%. So you can stack that up to 3 times, get a max movement speed of 30%. Brilliant. You can just queue people, attack them, chase them down if they're running away. It's fantastic. And then the second spell, the W, what I've got at the moment is a Spell Interrupt. So this spell actually interrupts spellcasters, but in the future I can change this to, is it level 40 or level 30? I believe it's level 40. I can change it to a slowing spell, so I will strike the target and I'll slow them by 30%, I think it is, or is it 32? It's something like that. It's really, really good. So you could get your increased movement speed from heroic charges, keep having that that movement speed stacked, so you can just constantly move faster, and then even slow your target with the second spell. But until that comes, I've got the interrupt for spell casting, but that's actually really good as well, especially if you can get like distance or close distance between you and a spellcaster and interrupt their big spells. It's fantastic. But what's really useful and what I like to sort of do for PvE is try and stack my auto attack damage. So with the Clarent Blade, you've got a ton of attack speed, especially with the torch, as I said. So what you want to try and do is try and get your Q charges stacked up to at 30%. And use that interrupt spell like I showed you on the Carving Sword, and it will increase your normal attack damage by 20 or 30%. So you're getting a nice auto attack damage boost pretty much, and then from there increase your haste and your attack speed again with your armor spell, and you're swinging so fast. You're getting tons of auto attack damage out because you've got a really high attack speed from the torch and from the haste combination, and then you've got a ton of auto attack damage from the heroic charge stacks, and obviously the auto attack damage on the haste spell as well. So you've got a ton of damage, and trust me, in a fight, when you're auto-attacking everyone, it can bring them down so much. Oh, it is so useful. But the third spell, and obviously the unique spell to the Clarent Blade, is actually an AoE attack spell. So the Carving Sword had a dash and a slow. It did a set amount of damage. You could dash towards a target, do a set amount of damage, and depending on how many charges you had, you would slow them down. So in PvP, it's going to be great. I can dash towards targets that are trying to run away, have my secondary slow spell, have the dash and slow. They wouldn't be able to do anything. They'll be slowed to, I don't know, about like 60%, unless they had like a counter spell to increase their speed. But with the Clarent Blade, you've actually got a giant AoE damage that goes off of your heroic charges. So if you've got 3 heroic charges, it will do more damage. But if you've got none, it will only do a little bit of damage. So something interesting to note is that if you've got no heroic charges, the heroic charge spell will actually do more damage. It will do 220, I think. And then as an example, the Clarent Blade AoE will only do 217 with no charges. With 3 charges, it can do up to 800, okay? 800 damage. So now you're seeing where the Clarent Blade can come into use. So with the Clarent Blade, if you actually use I'm trying to think, is it the Expert Mercenary's Hood? I will show it on screen now, obviously. Just being pre-recorded, I've got to go everything in my head. But if you use that, and it increases your damage, as I said, by up to 50%, with your Clarent Blade skill, you could probably get up to, 1.2k damage. The only problem is actually the timing. You would have to get all of your heroic charges on at once, back out of the fight while the heroic charges are still going and ticking, get your other spell ticking up to 50%, and get perfect timing to just attack everyone. Obviously, that's going to be really hard just to, I think, keep the heroic charges in time with the damaging 50% spell. I'm going to have to learn the name of it. It'll pop up on screen now. Okay, I promise. But if you can get that out there, you can obviously do a ton of damage. And because it's AoE, you can do a ton of damage to everyone. So if it's a Z versus Z, guild versus guild, there's loads of people around, you just run in with that 50% damage increase. It's insane. Obviously, the timing on that can be a bit annoying. So another way you could do it and get a 40% damage increase instead is actually stack your heroic charges, get your interrupt spell out there so you've got that 30% damage increase, and then use your haste so you've got an extra 10%, and then obviously use your Clarent Blade AoE, and that will get you to around about 1000 damage. I guess 840% is around there. So you can see the Clarent Blade is fantastic for PvE or in big PvP fights. Depends if you're being focused, if you can get in there, get into just where everything is. Especially if you can get into the spellcasters or the healers at the back line, you can do a ton of damage, but you haven't got much health, you haven't got much armor, you've only got a few runaway spells or defensive skills, so it can get a bit annoying. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Clarent Blade showcase and how it compares to the carving sword. If you have, be sure to leave that like down below. Facecam switched, didn't it? That way, down below. Social links and our Zazzle store are also in the description down below if you want to support me outside of YouTube, but I don't expect that. All I ask of you is that you share my channel, with your friends and family. Maybe they'll like my content, who knows. But yeah, thanks, and I'll see you on the next video. I don't know how to end it.